AITA for confronting my sister-in-law for trying to act like the mother of my baby? I am in a complex situation that I never thought I'd find myself in. My husband and I decided to pursue surrogacy as we were unable to conceive on our own due to medical reasons. His sister, let's call her Sarah, graciously offered to be our surrogate, and we were overjoyed. She has 2 children of her own whose births went smoothly, so we thought it wouldn't be a burden on her body, and since she was healthy we agreed to go further with the process. Fast forward to 6 months ago when our beautiful baby girl was born. We were beyond grateful to Sarah for her incredible gift to us, but that's when things started to get tricky. Sarah seemed to become extremely possessive of the baby, acting like she was the mother. Whenever she would come over to our home she insisted on being present for diaper changing, feeding, and nap time. At first I had no problem with this, but I told her it would be better for her to rest having given birth recently. But she insisted on helping out. But then things changed. She constantly started telling me how to care for the baby as she has more experience. She acts like she knows what's best for our child more than we do. She even started referring to the baby as her baby in front of our friends and family during family gatherings, and constantly reminds them that she birthed my baby and tells people about my fertility issues, saying how unfortunate it is. Naturally, this has caused tension between my husband and me. I've attempted to talk to my husband about it, and while he acknowledges that her behavior can be overbearing, he didn't want to confront her because he's afraid it will strain their relationship. He thinks we owe her too much to criticize her actions. But despite this, I finally decided to have a conversation with Sarah about her behavior. I expressed my gratitude for her surrogacy but explained that it was causing confusion and stress for our family. I tried to explain how her actions were making me feel overwhelmed and that I wanted to establish boundaries as it's my baby. She became emotional and accused me of not appreciating everything she had done for us, reminding me that she was the reason we had a child in the first place. She said I was not understanding the bond she had developed with the baby during pregnancy. After the argument I noticed how some of my husband's side of the family started treating me differently and looked at me differently. I feel so stressed and don't know what to do. Edit. Firstly, people have been accusing me of lying due to my Sil's age. She hadn't started menopause, was a healthy weight, non-smoker, non-drug, or alcohol user, and she was examined. Standard age in my area and clinic was 21 to 45 for IVF surrogacy carriers, but the medical professionals working with our family deemed her to be healthy enough to go ahead with the procedure. Her 2 other children were delivered with no complications either. Secondly, legal paperwork had been taken out, meaning my husband and I as the intended parents have full legal parental rights over our baby. Thirdly, I believe I have been somewhat insensitive towards my Sil and have spoken to my husband to offer her counseling for any postpartum depression and how to act appropriately around my baby as her aunt. Edit number 2, my husband and I did not make her do this for free. We both contributed towards the surrogacy fees and it was expensive, but we were willing to pay it and had been saving up. We also offered to pay for any medical treatment she may require after the birth. Comment. Definitely. But I also think that husband and wife need to go to counseling together too. This is gonna be a very tough situation moving forward. Maybe all 3 of them should go to counseling together too. Boundaries should be set now, otherwise the issue is only going to get worse. The best boundary is the ocean. They should definitely consider moving far, far away. Nothing like an expensive flight to keep overbearing family members away from you and your children. It's not always possible due to work situations, but it sounds like husband is the bigger problem here. It doesn't sound like he'd be willing to do that. This is why it's never good to have a relative do this for you. Having had 3 kids, I know you start loving them before they're born. LOL, it was mostly a joke on boundaries. Because the ocean is a literal boundary. But if they are able to move and they are able to transfer, I think that is the best option. But obviously that is the most extreme option and most people aren't able to just do that. But if the sister can't get herself together, they should seriously think about saving up to put some distance between them and her. Just in case. Because her behavior really is unhinged and I feel like this could go down an extremely dark path if she doesn't get some help, you know? Oh, for sure, very Dateline of the Sil, honestly. And TBH, you're honestly right about the whole boundaries thing. Moving across an ocean would certainly work. It's just wild to expect people to uproot their entire lives to get away from someone, haha, but in some cases totally understandable. Sarah needs to be made aware and reminded that if she thinks that child is hers, she's agreeing to the logic that the baby of hers, which isn't hers, is a product of inseminated incest, and if she wants to use the logic of it's not her egg, then exactly step back. BC being an incubator and her agreement doesn't make her a parent. Sarah definitely does need counseling and possibly a residential program. Right? Like I'm sure they used Op's eggs and hubby's swimmers. Because otherwise it would be a biological sibling's eggs and swimmers making the baby. And I don't know, that just seems weird. So yes, she carried the baby, but the baby is biologically Op and her husband's. She is the aunt. Yeah, she gave them a gift by carrying the baby. But honestly, I don't think I could have done this. I would not want my Sil holding that over my head, and it makes the family dynamic messy. Nta Op, but your Sil is verging on Ta territory. Insisting on being present for diaper changing, feeding, and nap time. That's a newborn's entire existence. Did she literally come over and stay every day all day? That should have been put a stop to immediately. Calling the baby her baby in front of friends and family is a step way too far. I'm guessing she's going through some sort of empty nest thing as her kids are grown, combined with some postpartum mild psychosis or something. Your husband needs to step up. There's a fine line between being grateful and appreciative about what she did for you, and allowing your entire lives to be upended by her over it. Next story 2. AITA for leaving home at a young age and potentially being the cause of my parents' divorce. Throwaway for privacy reasons. I left home when I was 17 because my stepfather made my teenage life a living hell. Little bit of a backstory: my mom had me when she was 19 and was a single mother until I was 12. We moved from place to place for many years until she met her husband. At first, me and him got along fine. While we had different interests, we were civil with each other at the time. He pulled me aside a year after they met and after we fully moved into his condo and asked me what I would think if he proposed to my mom. At the time, I was excited. Not only would my mom have a husband, but I would finally have the father figure I was desperate for. It was after their wedding when things took a turn. I'm not going to say everything he did to me, I don't have enough characters for that, but here are some of the highlights. Took my bedroom door off of its hinges when I asked for more privacy. Picked the lock on the bathroom door when I'm answering nature's call just to yell at me that I forgot to turn off my bedroom light that morning before leaving for school. Threatened to game over himself when Mom and I yelled back at him. He was screaming in my face for burning the dinner I was cooking that night. Said to my face, "You have no idea how much I want to wring your neck right now," because I didn't want to go to archery practice that day because I had a date. Took away my Christmas presents on Christmas Day when I was 14 because I slept in. There are many others but not enough spaces. When I was 15, Mom got pregnant and my little sister was born 9 months later. I adore her to this day. She's 9 now. Here is where I might be top. One day in summer when I was 17, my stepdad and I got into a really heated argument. I don't remember what about. I begged Mom to call my grandparents to come pick me up. They did, with my uncle hidden in another driveway to make sure my stepdad didn't follow us. Mom and I still kept in contact. We never talked about stepdad when her and I talked, but I went no contact with him. 8 years later we're at the current day and Mom comes to visit for a month with my little sister. A day before they made their trip back, my little sister was crying, saying she didn't want to leave because Daddy will just yell and scream again. That was a huge red flag for me, so I asked Mom to tell me the truth as to what's going on at home. She broke down and says he's been treating her worse and worse ever since I left and that she's planning an exit and divorce. 2 weeks later they're back with all of their stuff in tow. My stepdad's side of the family have been barraging me with messages saying it's all my fault and I broke up a family that didn't deserve to be. My side of the family says I was the victim, but I don't know. I feel really guilty. If they divorced because of me, wouldn't it be my fault after all? AITA. Comment. It's 100% not your fault. You left because of his behavior, and he is the only one that to blame for that. Frankly, your mother should be ashamed of allowing him to treat you that way. I see this as a point of celebration. Your mom finally figured out that he's a nightmare and that no kid deserves to be yelled at for burning dinner or have their Christmas gifts taken away. Yes, this will be hard on your sister because she's young, and hopefully there will be therapy for all of you. This is a step in their lives that can lead to healing, and it's not your fault. You helped your mother leave an abusive relationship and got your sister away from a violent father. You saved your family. You didn't do anything wrong to make it your fault. Don't feel guilty. It's about time your mother got divorced. Your family deserves to be happy. Advise your mother to file a complaint, and if he doesn't leave her alone, she can get a restraining order. Your stepfather was, It seems he played nice until he got married to your mom, and got abusive really fast afterwards. Even if you didn't ran away at 17, it was just going keep getting worse for you, and probably you were just going to delay the inevitable. I am glad your mom and sister also ran away. Abuse is the abuser's fault only, and this guy was an abuser from the start. He abused you first, and I guarantee he noted that your mom wasn't able to really stand up for you. It's not surprising that once his primary target left he switched to her, as he already knew she wasn't likely to push back. It probably would have happened in time even if you stayed. Even if you were the catalyst for your mom's decision, how is it bad to break up a family where a young child is scared to go home and the father is not capable of treating his spouse with respect and decency? Your stepdad's behavior is the reason people don't want to be around him, and only he has control over that. Sounds like your mom gave him plenty of time to change his ways and he didn't. Plus your mom has to protect your little sister, you too, when you were young. No surprise his family thinks he is not at fault because they never taught him not to be an asshole. Good for you for getting away on your own. It's not your fault it came to this. It would have been better if the relationship ended sooner, but that's not important right now. It's great that your mother understands now that this person is abusive and dangerous. Don't listen to people who say YTA, that's simply not the truth. Stay stiff. You are fine and are not the cause of anything. It always astonishes me when all these outside people send messages that blame someone else when they are not involved in the whole thing. It kept getting worse and worse after you left because his regular punching bag was gone. Your mom was using you at the time, so it wasn't directed at her. You were the shield. When you left, she had to face it. Only then did her eyes actually open. Did she ever apologize for letting that happen to you? It's normal to feel guilt, but this is a grown-up problem and you were just a kid. There is not even one tiny piece of the story that was your fault. His behavior was escalating from the moment he married your mom and just continued. Your leaving was not a catalyst for his behavior or the demise of the relationship. Even if your mom perceives it that way, it's simply not true. Be prepared to testify in court if he fights your mom over custody of your sweet little sister. You could be her hero.